What's up?
Hey guys, my name is Shroomy, and I just really like lore. Well, we got another new short story this week. This one on Mizuki. If it wasn't clear by now, it looks like we're going to be getting one per week on each new hero, so next week should be Onron. We're going to be covering that one, of course, when that one comes out, or hopefully comes out next week. This was the last one that was on the story tab in-game, so I'm not really sure where we're going from here. But we're probably going to be going back to the main plot if I had to guess. Anyways, this one is all about Mizuki, and is titled Cursebreaker. So we're going to be breaking that down and kind of explaining the broader story of what's going on in Japan and with Kanezaka, because this story kind of really drills home that Kanezaka is going to be the main area going forward for this plotline. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. This stuff is always really helpful, and it gives me a general idea on what people like and what people don't really like, and what I can do better. So let me know below as well. Anyways, let's get on with making a little brief summary of the new short story, Cursebreaker, and then breaking down the many different things that the story kind of gives, because there is a lot. Mizuki sits down with Toshiro, Kiriko's father, one last time before setting off for Kanezaka. The Hashimoto have tasked him with infiltrating the yokai, the local rebel group that Kiriko is a part of, and to eliminate them. Mizuki is worried and unsure if he could hurt the others who are around him, since they appear to be his age and he's afraid he'll have a connection to them. Toshiro reassures him to do the right thing and make friends with them. Mizuki notes that Kanezaka's Hashimoto group is more exclusive and separate from the rest of the faction, and doesn't really know of the plan that he's about to do. Kurora, who is the leader of this group, leads with an iron fist and butts heads with the other Hashimoto elders. Mizuki explains that his past is filled with bad luck and misfortune. His mother died at a young age, and his father was obsessed with breaking his family's curse. This eventually led to his father's death, and him alone with a mountain of debt. So he's worked with the Hashimoto ever since. Toshiro tells him not to worry about the politics of the Hashimoto, and gives Mizuki an Anima Tech weapon. Not many have been made in the present day like this, and Mizuki is hesitant of course, but takes the blade. He worries that if she finds out about this gift, but also of Toshiro's involvement, what might happen to both of them. Toshiro tells him to focus on himself, and live free. So, he says goodbye to his mentor, and sets out for his next mission, leaving Toshiro behind with the Hashimoto. So, this is about what the general vibe I was assuming it was going to go for with this story. We kind of knew in advance that Mizuki was going to be getting something, just because of how the other heroes were getting a lot, but we've known about his backstory with the debt and his family's curse since he released. His backstory does a lot of really good building for him and really kind of makes him stand out a bit more, and I was really happy to see that early on. His whole backstory really does focus on the idea of this debt that his father had, but more so that it was trying to break a curse. Now, I don't think his family is actually cursed. I think this is probably just a superstition, but you can even see this in-game where Mizuki makes little comments about being cursed, and his entire thing has the kind of curse motif to him. This seems to be an integral part of his character, or at the very least, a pretty important part, so we're probably going to be seeing him kind of understand and evolve and learn that he can break the curse on his own. Maybe Kiriko and Hanzo and Toshiro will be those characters to really help him step up. So, I think his story's probably going to be going in that direction, where he really does open up to the other yokai. And on the topic of the yokai, it does seem like we're finally going to be getting a little bit more of them. In-game, he's had a couple interactions with Kiriko talking about random different members, but we really don't know a lot about them. Hopefully through Mizuki, we get to explore each of them a little bit more, but also get to focus on Kiriko and his relationship. I think these two, since they're heroes, are going to be the closest of them all, and their stories are probably going to be evolving over time. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more about this storyline in Season 3, which I'll be talking about in a bit. But the yokai are definitely going to be his home. I do think he's going to betray the Hashimoto, just from a couple different things that have been all over the place. Makes the most sense to me. And in general, he just is going to be a good guy, I think. You can see this even in-game on the event screen with the Talon versus Overwatch thing, where he's on the good guy side, so it does look like he's going to swap. Of course, I'll also mention, I wonder if Vendetta has anything to do with this. We know Vendetta's working with the Hashimoto, and judging by the fact that he comes from the main group of the Hashimoto, not really the Kanezaka branch, maybe Vendetta is really closing out on them and trying to get them to do more, have a bigger control. So, because of this, they're sending him out to go deal with this yokai group, because they need them out of the way to take over more of Japan. That's probably how they could tie Vendetta into it all, but overall, Mizuki does seem to be going in the way of a redemption arc in some ways. I don't even really think he has gotten to that point where he needs a redemption arc, but he's probably going to figure out a way to really move forward and past everything going on in his life and just live for himself and create his own friends in life. Now, the other major character that I should mention in this is, of course, Toshiro. He is Kiriko's father. We've known about him ever since Kiriko released, and it was implied way back then that the Hashimoto have seemingly been keeping him hostage to kind of make stuff for them, and they're using his family as leverage, saying, if you don't work for us, we're going to harm your family. So he is the one who makes Anima Tech, which we'll be talking about a little bit more, and I'll probably be breaking it down what exactly it is, because there's a little bit of context clues here and there that kind of explain it better, but I do hope Toshiro is going to be able to be free eventually. I think his story where he reunites with Kiriko and her mom is going to be a really big moment, and I'm really excited to see that eventually happen. But I do think we need to get a little bit more of Toshiro and kind of build him up a little bit better, because a lot of people don't even know that's Kiriko's dad. We have to have that moment where Kiriko finds out her father's fully back. In the Heroes of Ascended short story with Hanzo, she doesn't know where he is. So we probably need to get a little bit more with that, and probably get a Kiriko story just explaining how she feels about everything, because we really haven't gotten her perspective on a lot of this. A cute thing I did notice in this as well is Mizuki said when he was leaving that he's not going to be bringing donuts to Toshiro anymore, and I just thought that was really cute because, that's Kiriko's favorite food, and just kind of shows the father-daughter relationship there, and kind of shows probably where she got it from. Yeah, Toshiro's a really big deal in the Overwatch world. He's known the Shimadas for a really long time, and he's a weaponsmith making Anima Tech. But what exactly is Anima Tech? Well, I'm going to be talking about that next, because I think this one answers a really old question people have had. So, Anima Tech. This is seemingly what they're going to be going for to explain the Kiriko Fox, the Shimada Dragons, everything. And it seems like that everything with Mizuki is gearing up to explain it a little bit more. So, Anima Tech seemingly is the idea that weapons can be imbued with some kind of technology that gives them an animal motif and kind of focuses on the core idea that an animal is in the weapon, in a sense. We get an interaction in-game that goes over this a little bit more, where Mizuki says that Toshiro made Hanzo's bow and gave it the dragon motif. So we can kind of assume this worked for Genji as well, and of course, the fox spirit with Kiriko. This does explain a lot and kind of debugs the whole magic idea that a lot of people have had over time, and this goes in line with a lot of developer things where developers have said magic doesn't exist in Overwatch. With this as well, it just does explain more of the animal side to it all, like why do they have dragons? People have always thought it was because of the family, but it does seem to be just because it was gifted to them because of their family relation to the dragon. It seems like the dragon itself in the weapons wasn't specifically their dragon. It seems more like it was technology made to resemble or be like the dragon. Same with Kiriko's fox spirit. I do think it's been passed down from generation to generation, but probably in this kind of sense, where it's an honorary title that's given to the next generation, and they get a weapon that goes alongside it, summoning the animal that's inside. So that does make a lot of sense, and Mizuki's seems to be a Kappa, judging by his design. He has Kappa on his chest, but he doesn't really have an animal to it. So there could be a story to that as well. Maybe because he doesn't have an animal to it, this could be Toshiro going in a different direction with it all. Maybe it's more of a, not literal animal, but more of a mythological kind of idea or a kind of more abstract thing going on. We get a lot of the green hues and such, so maybe that could be something, but I'm not really sure. If you guys have any ideas on that, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on it. As well, everything with Anima Tech does open the door and explains why the Hashimoto don't really have that technology. In this story, it was explained that Toshiro apparently lost the gift, but he seemingly has been lying to all of the Hashimoto and has been keeping it hidden from them. This is a big deal, and even Mizuki says that if they find out, he'll be in big trouble, so we're probably going to see the ramifications of that down the road. And on the topic of everything with the Hashimoto, let's talk about them real quick, because the Hashimoto are kind of a bigger deal than we thought. The Hashimoto and the Shimadas have been rival clans for a really long time, and eventually outed and took over all of the land that the Shimadas had a stake in, and they took over and became the new major family. The Hashimoto are split up into different regions all over Japan, it seems like, and they have elders. We've actually seen a couple of the elders from, once again, Hanzo's short story in Heroes Ascendant. We know there's a woman, an older man, and a couple other characters as well, but we're not given specific names to many. It does explain here in this story that the Kanazaka branch of the Hashimoto is separate from the rest, which does explain a little bit more of why the greater Hashimoto hasn't gotten involved in Kiriko's story yet, or even really seems to understand she's a threat. As well, it also just kind of explained everything that happened in Kiriko's animated short, where the entire Hashimoto kind of looked like goofy and didn't really make sense. This one does kind of explain why they were that goofy in that animated short. They were probably just a smaller group of the Hashimoto that isn't well organized and more like a true local gang than anything else. Kurora is the figure that's mentioned a couple times in this short story, so who exactly is Kurora? We actually do know he's in Kiriko's one-shot manga that came out a long time ago. He's the leader, or at least the right hand, of this part of the Hashimoto in Kanazaka. He does have a cybernetic hand, you can see in this image, and does kind of just show that this guy is kind of intimidating. He's a bigger man, has the cybernetic hand, and he's all about business, it seems like, or at least being the muscle. So we're probably going to be hearing about more of him, but it does sound like he butts heads with the other Hashimoto. The leaders of the Hashimoto seemingly don't really like him, and he doesn't really like them, so they kind of just exclude him from everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's a stepping stone to get us more into the major storyline of the Hashimoto, and maybe he's like a one-off villain that we'll see in the future. However, of course, we have to mention the other mysterious figure that's mentioned twice in this short story. This mysterious woman, or she. In the short story, Mizuki kind of mentions that if she finds out that Toshiro can make Anima Tech weapons, it's gonna be an issue. So, who is she? We kind of have an idea already, but we don't have a concrete answer. So, hear me out. It seems like the Season 3 hero who's gonna be coming up in the future is this girl character. We can kind of see from her silhouette on the pass that she seemingly is going to be from Tokyo. We can tell because we're getting the Tokyo map that year, and the Hashimoto are currently invading Tokyo, so it would make sense for this character to kind of come into the game and move Mizuki's storyline along when this happens. We don't really know a name or anything. If I had to guess based on her silhouette, she's probably going to be a high member of the Hashimoto, or maybe even a daughter or maybe a head of the Hashimoto as an elder. Maybe we're going to be seeing this character kind of hunt down Mizuki and ask for progress reports on how things are going, and Mizuki's going to be slowly turning away from the Hashimoto, making her angry. He does seem afraid of her in this story, and it does kind of show she's got some kind of intimidating thing going on. I wouldn't be surprised if she has an animal motif as well with Anima Tech. Maybe she forces Toshiro to make her something like a tiger. We know the Hashimoto's animal is a tiger, and the Shimada's is a dragon. So maybe that could be how they tie all that in, and we get a little bit more on both of those sides. I do think that's going to be my prediction for her. I think Mizuki's story and Kiriko's story is really going to pick up when Season 3 hits, and we get this new mysterious hero who's probably going to be the new villain for this storyline. A lot of heroes kind of go in two sides of 2 to 3 heroes and 1 villain, or 1 to 2 villains and 2 heroes. So we do need one for this storyline, and also we just desperately need a Hashimoto hero. It's been way too long, and they need something, so I hope she is that. Those are all my biggest thoughts after the Mizuki story here, Cursebreaker. What did you guys think? Did you like this story? Are you excited to see more of Mizuki in the future? And, of course, where do you think Mizuki's story is going to go next, and when? Anyways, that's all from me. I'm going to have a video up probably this weekend speculating on the Omnic heroes coming out, so if you're interested in that, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have a lot of interesting stuff coming up, and I can't wait to talk about it more with you all. That's all from me once again, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!